What if junk isn't just junk? What if the things we throw away could bring your garden to life? Welcome to Archon Aesthetic Studio, where we turn forgotten objects into beautiful, soulful spaces. In this video, you'll see 25 bizarre garden DIYs from trash. Ideas you've probably never imagined. Timestamps are included, so feel free to explore what inspires you. And if anything sparks a question, I'd love to hear from you. I'm not just a face on your screen. Behind this is a real family, building something with almost nothing. Your like, your comment, your subscribe, they matter. You're not just supporting a video, you're keeping a dream alive. Thank you for being here. Thank you for seeing me. One fairy lantern bird feeder with solar teacup lights. In a quiet garden where time slows and light lingers just a bit longer, some of the most enchanting creations are born not from what we buy, but from what we choose to see differently. Take, for instance, an old lantern, one with rusted edges and glass fogged from age. It might seem like nothing, something forgotten in a shed, but with a little imagination, it becomes something else entirely. Here, we've placed a porcelain teacup inside its belly. Maybe it once held morning tea by a window. Now, it holds birdseed and a small solar puck light, glowing gently as dusk settles in. It sways slightly in the breeze. Beneath it, lavender blooms and wild thyme hums softly with bees. And at night, the lantern doesn't disappear, it transforms. The solar light flickers on, casting warmth not just across petals and stems, but across memory itself. It's gentle, soft, the kind of light that doesn't interrupt a quiet evening, but enhances it. Nearby, another lantern hangs beneath a curved wire ring wrapped in tiny solar lights. Inside, a teacup painted with flowers catches the eye, not just because it's beautiful, but because it's unexpected. This isn't a store-bought feeder. It's a story, and the sparrows know it. They land carefully, feathers brushing metal, wings catching the warm light. They eat and fly again, and still, it glows. Quietly magical. On the ground, tucked into lavender beds, another lantern rests. Rusted, forgotten, and now reborn. The glass holds a teacup, and in the cup, seeds, glowing beneath the solar light. It doesn't boast, it doesn't demand, but it offers something rare in today's world: calm, whimsy, peace. These aren't complicated projects. They don't require tools you don't have or money you can't spare. A teacup, a lantern, a bit of string, a solar light, and your willingness to believe that what's forgotten can still glow. That's what this video is about. Seeing potential where others see trash. Creating magic with your own hands. And knowing that beauty doesn't come from perfection. It comes from love, from effort, and from the courage to see things differently. So maybe next time you see an old lamp or a chipped cup, don't walk past it. Pick it up, take it home, make something, and when it glows in your garden at night, know this: you've made something truly extraordinary from almost nothing at all. hanging Tuna can basket feeder, rustic chandelier for birds. In the soft rhythm of a morning breeze, this curious creation swings like a forgotten melody. What was once a humble wire fruit basket now hovers among blossoms and branches, repurposed into a rustic bird-feeding chandelier. Hung with twine, it gently sways, its shape echoed by a circle of tuna cans, emptied, cleaned, and pierced to cradle tiny offerings of seeds. This isn't about decoration. It's about turning discarded metal into motion, into music, into invitation. Each can is like a bloom, rough around the edges, imperfectly perfect. They spin slightly in the wind, reflecting sunlight in flickers and flashes. Birds gather, hesitant at first, then bold, swooping down to feast from this suspended banquet of reuse. It's strangely elegant, like an old folk song you remember without knowing why. And the best part? You don't need anything fancy. A thrift wire basket, a few old cans, some twine, a pair of hands, and the will to see beauty in the broken. Position your chandelier near wildflowers if you can. Marigolds or lavender do wonders to soften the scene. And leave the cans unpolished. Let rust write its own quiet story. In this little circle of motion, reuse becomes refuge. The air stirs with wings and possibility. It's the kind of idea you don't just admire, you carry it into your own backyard. Three, Silverware Windchime, memory music in the breeze. Sometimes music doesn't come from instruments. It comes from memories. In a quiet corner of your garden, a coat hanger sways gently in the breeze. Beneath it, a chorus of mismatched silverware. Forks with bent tines, old teaspoons dulled by time, and knives that have long lost their shine. Each hangs from twine or fishing line, imperfect and unpolished, and that's what makes them sing. There's a certain comfort in the way they chime. Not like bells, not like music boxes, but like a quiet reminder of meals once shared, stories once told at dinner tables now long gone. The soft clinks are never quite the same, always shifting with the wind, just like memory. You don't need tools beyond a strip of driftwood, a wooden hanger, or even an old coat rack. What you need most is the willingness to listen, to let the past become part of the present. Place it by a lavender bush or beneath a pergola. Let morning light catch the curves of each spoon. Let the afternoon breeze compose a gentle, private concert. There's no wrong way to build it. You don't even need matching pieces. In fact, the beauty lies in their difference, in their history. This isn't just a wind chime. It's a tribute to everyday things, to time, to home. And as it plays its soft, uneven song above your herbs or between the blooms, you might find yourself pausing, not to admire the object, but to feel what it brings back. A sense of calm, a story retold by the breeze, a kind of beauty you don't buy, you build it, piece by piece. Four, Mosaic drawer planter, fragments of bloom. There's something beautiful about what's been broken. In a sunlit corner of a garden, a forgotten drawer, its edges softened by time, finds new purpose. Its face, once plain and unremarkable, is now alive with a mosaic of shattered porcelain, old teacups, and vintage tiles. Each piece is different. None quite fit, yet somehow they come together, like memories carefully glued into place. Inside, dark soil holds a small constellation of succulents and aloe. Their forms are soft but sure, their color vivid against the aged wood. It doesn't shout for attention, it just breathes quietly, a whisper of green among gentle cracks and bold patterns. This is not just decor, it's a slow act of revival. You don't need to buy something new. Start with a drawer, maybe one left behind by a dresser you no longer need. Let it speak again. Gather fragments, tiles, ceramics, anything once lovely and chipped. With adhesive and care, piece them together. Don't worry about perfection. The beauty lies in contrast. Plant something easy, sedum, jade, cactus. Let them grow as they will. Water lightly, give them light, and let time do the rest. And suddenly, the drawer tells a new story, not of storage or utility, but of hope, of reuse, of the magic that lives in hands that dare to see beauty not in what is whole, but in what still holds life. Maybe this is your invitation too, not to throw away what's broken, but to let it bloom. Five, teacup mushroom stakes, whimsical porcelain caps. In the hush of early morning, when the grass is still wet with dew and the world feels tender, a garden stirs with quiet magic. Here, among the clover and soft earth, teacups rise like mushrooms, some bright and bold with red dots, others still bearing the gentle florals of long-forgotten kitchen shelves. They are not placed with symmetry, but with joy, each one perched upside down on a slender wooden stake, some hand-painted in playful hues, others left as they are, their past lives shining through in porcelain glaze and delicate print. Together, they become a forest of whimsy. As the light shifts through leaves, these little caps catch it just so, casting small shadows, catching raindrops, drawing curious glances. There's no noise, no fuss, just a handmade moment stitched into the soil, inviting imagination to bloom. This isn't decor, it's a gesture, a story made of salvage and care. Proof that with a bit of paint, an old teacup, and a quiet afternoon, beauty can be built from almost nothing. And maybe, just maybe, you'll believe, if only for a moment, that fairy tales grow from thrift things. Six, chair planter, reclaimed throne bloomers. In a quiet corner of a blooming garden, where gravel paths gently curve through waves of color, a forgotten chair stands, not to be sat on, but to bloom. Once overlooked, perhaps abandoned in a dusty garage, this humble wooden seat has been transformed into a living sculpture. Its seat now cradles a soft bed of soil and wild-rooted joy. Red petunias spill over the edge, trailing ivy curls like slow-moving rivers, and pansies nod their heads in the breeze. Some chairs bear peeling white paint, others are untouched, their age worn proudly in every scratch and faded grain, proof that time can beautify, not break. To create something similar, begin simply. Remove the seat panel, insert a cocoa liner or recycled basket, and let nature do the rest. Choose plants that trail, bloom brightly, and fill space with joy. Whether it's ivy climbing down the legs or pansies peeking through old slats, the effect is undeniably poetic, whimsical yet grounded, like a story whispered by the earth itself. These chair planters don't just decorate a space, they change its rhythm. They invite pause. They suggest that not all thrones are made of gold. Some are built from memory, soil, and flowers that bloom despite where they're planted. So next time you pass a discarded chair on the curb, pause. Imagine what it could become with a bit of soil, a splash of color, and a heart willing to see beauty where others see waste. Seven, Teacup mushroom steaks, whimsical teacup shrooms. What if forgotten teacups could become fairy caps in your garden? These little treasures, once used for quiet morning sips or rainy afternoon chats, now bloom upside down in beds of wildflowers and soft moss. A simple wooden dowel, a touch of waterproof paint, or none at all, and suddenly, you're not just crafting, you're inviting a bit of whimsy back into the world. Some are painted in playful red and white polka dots. Others keep their delicate rose patterns as if still proud of their porcelain past. When arranged together, they create a patch of storybook mushrooms that trick the eye and tug the heart. Raindrops catch on their curved rims, glinting like dew. The garden whispers. This isn't just decor, it's memory turned into magic. It's a gentle rebellion against waste. A reminder that beauty doesn't always come from something new, but from seeing the old with fresh wonder. If you've got a chipped teacup, don't toss it. Flip it. Stick it. Watch it transform your yard into something that smiles back. Eight, chair planters, storybook bloom chairs. There's something quietly poetic about giving forgotten furniture a second chance. A simple chair, once left out in the rain, now rises as a garden's heart, not as a seat for rest, but as a stage for life. Look closely. These are no longer ordinary chairs. Their seats have been carefully removed or lined with baskets and burlap sacks, transformed into rich beds of soil where pansies, petunias, and ivy now bloom. Some are weathered with peeling paint, others gently rusting beneath trees. But each tells a new story, one of purpose reclaimed. There's a sense of character in each frame. The pastel blues, chipped whites, and even the rustic metal scrolls. These imperfections make them beautiful. Nestled beneath a canopy of green or sitting proudly on a stone path, they beckon the eye and the heart alike. You don't need a perfect chair to start, only one willing to bloom again. This idea is both simple and brilliant. Whether you place a cocoa fiber liner filled with color or let trailing vines gently cascade from the edges, it's not about precision, it's about presence. These chairs become more than decor. They're visual poetry, pieces of functional art stitched into the fabric of your garden. So the next time you see a chair abandoned at a thrift store or leaning lonely by the roadside, imagine what it could become. A throne not for sitting, but for growing. A little wild, a little worn, entirely magical. Nine, teacup mushrooms, whimsical porcelain toadstools. In a quiet corner of the garden where ferns whisper and sunlight weaves golden threads through leaves, something whimsical stirs the imagination. A patch of mushrooms, not grown from earth, but born of porcelain and charm. Here, teacups no longer hold tea. Instead, they stand proudly upside down, transformed into mushroom caps. Some are crowned in red with white polka dots, playfully mimicking the fairytale toadstools we once saw in storybooks. Others remain adorned in delicate floral patterns, their pastel blooms whispering of bygone tea parties and forgotten afternoons. Mounted on garden stakes or nestled low among velvety moss and marigolds, these handmade toadstools add a note of surprise and wonder to your flower beds. They catch raindrops and morning dew, sparkling like glassy jewels scattered through the greenery. Even the smallest breeze brings them to life, shifting, glinting, as if they're waiting for tiny woodland creatures to gather beneath them. Creating your own porcelain mushroom garden is a tender act of reinvention. Old teacups and mismatched saucers, once discarded or cracked, are given a second chapter. With a touch of waterproof paint or left in their vintage elegance, they're mounted onto bamboo skewers, dowels, or wooden rods, rising playfully at different heights among the blooms. It's an invitation to see magic where others see waste. A reminder that even forgotten china can take root in the garden, where stories bloom in clay and color, and beauty is found not in perfection, but in surprise. Draw a mosaic planter, broken beauty blooms. In a quiet corner of the garden, where stories linger and sunlight dances in gentle flutters, a curious creation catches the eye, a drawer reborn from ruin. Once forgotten, once cracked, once tossed aside. But now, these pieces tell a new story, not of loss, but of renewal. Each drawer front becomes a gallery of shattered beauty, fragments of porcelain plates, antique saucers, and chipped tiles carefully arranged like puzzle pieces that never quite fit, yet form something more beautiful because of it. There is something poetic in the way brokenness becomes decoration, in the way history is sealed with grout and blooms. Inside, nestled in soft soil, succulents rise like silent prayers. Sedums spill like mossy lace, Echeveria holds water and memory in its rosettes, and little Haworthias stretch upward like tiny green cathedrals. These hardy plants ask for little and give so much: texture, symmetry, and the gift of thriving even in confined spaces. If you wish to recreate this peaceful patchwork, start with a drawer, any drawer. Paint it, or don't. Let it carry its age with pride. Collect broken tiles or ceramics, especially pieces that mean something. A dish from your grandmother's kitchen, a tea plate from a flea market in another city. Glue, grout, and press those stories in. Drainage holes are important. Succulents detest soggy feet. Line the inside with plastic if the wood is fragile, add gritty soil, and plant your favorites in a soft, uneven row. Place your drawer somewhere it can greet the morning or bask in afternoon golden hour. This isn't just gardening. It's memory keeping. It's quiet rebellion against waste. And it's beauty built from what the world once considered broken. So the next time you find a drawer on the curb, or a plate shattered on the kitchen floor, pause. Imagine the garden it could become. Whimsical teacup mushrooms, fairy china caps. In the hush of a flower-laced morning, where the air hums softly with bees and breeze, a quiet garden tells a tale of transformation, of whimsy born from what was once discarded. Here, nestled among pansies and violets, porcelain teacups rise like fantastical fungi, their dainty handles now sideways wings, their rims splashed with polka dots or vintage florals. Some perch atop brightly painted rods, like toadstools in Technicolor. Others bloom straight from the earth, their colors bold, red, cobalt, yellow, each one a pop of cheer beside emerald leaves and rich, earthy soil. They are not mushrooms, of course. They are memories turned magical, forgotten china, once cracked and orphaned in dusty cupboards, now standing proud beneath the open sky. A patch of fairy hats made not of petals, but porcelain. This is the magic of seeing possibility in the broken, the beauty in the banal. Creating these garden shrooms is less about perfection and more about story. Choose mismatched cups, each with its own past, and affix them to wooden dowels or ceramic stems. Paint them boldly, or let the fading rose prince whisper of long-lost tea times. Press them into the soil, scattered like secrets. Let the rain gloss their caps, let the sun warm their worn glazes. This is not just decor. It's a quiet rebellion against throwaway culture. It's an ode to whimsy, a spell cast in china and stem. And best of all, it invites every passerby, child or grown soul, to pause, to smile, and to believe, if only for a moment, that perhaps something small and enchanted still stirs beneath the leaves. "12. Reflective garden art, Mirrorlight blooms." As sunlight filters through the trees and dances across your garden, why not let it reflect back in ways no one expects? In a world where forgotten things can be reborn with grace, reflective garden art invites light to become your co-designer. Each gleam, a tiny whisper of magic. Each glint, a note in a quiet symphony of creativity. Picture the first scene, a fence transformed into a canvas of circular metal rings or mirrors, catching the soft glow of dusk. It's not just fencing now, but a tapestry of light. This shimmering wall of reflections brings poetry to your perimeter, enchanting even the most overlooked edges of your yard. The trick? Old CDS, compact mirrors, or even bottle caps. Aligned with care, they don't just reflect light, they tell a story of rediscovery. Elsewhere in the garden, driftwood-wrapped mirrors lean casually against a fence. Weathered wood meets quiet glass, giving your garden corners depth and intrigue. These mirrors, once ordinary fixtures, now double the greenery, bounce morning light back into shadows, and draw the eye deeper into the soul of the space. It's as though a secret garden lives within the reflection, always just beyond reach, but always inviting you to peer closer. And then there are constellations made of broken CDS, mirrored discs, and compact reflections. They appear scattered on wooden planks like celestial graffiti, unexpected, imperfect, and utterly mesmerizing. As the day unfolds and sun arcs overhead, each sliver of mirror flares briefly to life, casting tiny bursts of sparkle across the lawn. You can almost imagine fairies following their trail. This isn't just upcycling, it's garden alchemy. It's about seeing potential where others see waste, reclaiming what was lost, reshaping it with intention, and giving it new purpose beneath the open sky. So, before you toss out that cracked CD or chipped mirror, ask yourself, could this be a star in your garden's next constellation? 13. Magical thrift garden lighting, Glowkeeper finds. As twilight descends and the garden hushes into golden stillness, something quietly magical stirs among the branches and blooms. Here, where the wild meets the whimsical, broken and forgotten treasures are reborn, glowing with new purpose. From old chandeliers once hung above ballroom floors to modest kitchen colanders long past their culinary prime, each piece now dangles from tree limbs like glowing stars caught in tangled boughs. The refracted sunlight through cut glass bowls, repurposed as lantern shades, throws crystalline patterns across the lawn, shadows that flicker and sway with the leaves above. And just beneath, dancing closer to the earth, mason jars filled with tiny fairy lights and beeswax candles illuminate a garden path as if leading you gently into another realm. Their gentle flickers mimic the breath of fireflies, creating a trail of warmth and wonder. Beside them, old lampshades, tattered with charm, have been stripped to their wire bones and laced with strands of soft amber lights. Suspended like moons above the flower beds, they cast delicate halos that shimmer across petals and ivy. What makes this light special isn't just its glow, it's the soul it carries. Each piece was once discarded, deemed obsolete. But now, in the hush of evening, they whisper a new story, that even the most ordinary objects can become extraordinary with a little imagination and love. If you find yourself with an old bowl, a forgotten fixture, or a shelf full of unused jars, don't toss them aside. Look at them again, this time with wonder. Ask them, what light could you carry if given a second chance? And then, let them shine. "14. Vintage garden signs and markers, whimsy words in bloom." Beneath a canopy of lavender and mint, in a garden kissed by morning dew and dreams, the forgotten whispers of old kitchens and dusty cupboards find new life. What once stirred soups or held afternoon tea now speaks the language of blossoms, herbs, and handmade charm. This is where nostalgia meets the earth, and creativity turns trash into tales. In the first scene, shattered saucers, too lovely to be discarded, are reborn as poetic plant markers. Their floral borders cradle delicate stems, while their names, painted in sweeping calligraphy, feel as if whispered from another time. Simply glue the saucer shards onto wooden stakes, write the names of your plants or flowers with ceramic paint or waterproof ink, and let them stand proud among green leaves like porcelain poetry. Not far off, among tidy rows of herbs, forks and spoons glint in the sun, not on a table, but rooted in soil. These relics of forgotten place settings now hold purpose again, their handles etched or labeled with the names of basil, cilantro, and thyme. You can hand-stamp the names using metal letter punches, or paint them on with fine-tip markers. There's something charming, even humorous, about seeing a parsley plant labeled by a soup spoon from the 1950s. And then there is the wall, a whimsical gallery of upcycled cutting boards, wooden trays, and vintage signs. Each one painted in a palette of weathered whites, faded sea greens, and rustic reds. Their handwritten phrases may not always make sense, but that's the beauty of it. It's not perfection that delights, but character. Repurposing these pieces is as easy as sanding them down, painting with chalk or acrylic paint, and lettering with your own hand, flawed and heartfelt. The beauty in these crafts lies not in symmetry or precision, but in storytelling. These are not just signs and markers. They are invitations to slow down, to remember, to smile. To see a spoon and think not only of dinner, but of dill. To spot a plate shard and imagine the family meals it once witnessed. So next time you walk through a flea market, thrift store, or even your own garage, look twice. That drawer of mismatched silverware, that chipped plate, that old breadboard, they're not trash. They're seeds waiting to bloom, if only in your imagination. And your garden? It's waiting too, for words, for whimsy, for a touch of magic written in rust and porcelain. "15. Rain chains and garden water features, whispering water wonders." Sometimes, the most enchanting melodies in a garden don't come from wind chimes or birdsong, but from water, soft, rhythmic, endlessly calming. Imagine standing in the hush of your backyard after a warm summer rain, and instead of silence, you hear delicate drips cascading from metal, glass, and enamel, each note echoing like a lullaby written for the soil itself. In the first scene, an old chandelier is reborn in one of the most poetic transformations. Once glittering with light, it now glistens with water, replaced not with crystal but with rustic tin buckets and stainless funnels. Each vessel dances with droplets as the rain weaves through them. This water sculpture is more than just a DIY, it's kinetic poetry. To create one like it, gather an old light fixture frame and suspend various containers using chains or wire. Ensure they're weighted and aligned to allow a gentle stream from one to the next. The result? A whimsical rainfall symphony that soothes the spirit and hydrates the earth below. The second image carries us deep into a mossy glade, where a humble stack of enamel colanders has become an unlikely water feature. Powered by a discreet solar pump, water trickles from bowl to bowl, filtering through tiny holes and creating soft burbles. There's something deliciously nostalgic about using kitchen relics this way. Vintage colanders that once drained pasta now refresh ferns and charm passers-by. Nestle yours into a shaded corner, line the bottom bowl with river stones or pebbles, and let it hum with forest magic. This is DIY alchemy, where discarded cookware turns into forest treasure. And finally, a vision so charming it feels straight from a children's fairy tale. Rain trickles down a chain of pastel teapots and dainty ladles, each carefully linked to capture and pass along the drops like secrets whispered in porcelain. This cascading chain doesn't just serve a function, it tells a story. It's a memory chain, perhaps, of afternoon teas and Sunday brunches, now given new life in the rain. Suspend it from the edge of your roof or a pergola beam. Let the garden write its lullaby through it, one raindrop at a time. These water features don't require expensive materials or technical expertise, only a willingness to see potential where others see waste. Let the rain become your co-creator. Let gravity compose the song. And let your garden, lush, whimsical, alive, be the stage where every drop matters. Because in a world often too loud, this is how beauty speaks. Softly, slowly, and with the voice of water. "16. Stepping stones and garden paths, story beneath your feet." Some gardens speak not through flowers, but through footsteps. Imagine wandering down a path where every stone beneath you is a story, carefully crafted, thoughtfully repurposed, and filled with fragments of forgotten beauty. In the first garden, shattered vintage plates have been reborn into mosaics, each circle a quiet painting, assembled piece by piece. Once tossed aside, these delicate fragments now guide your way with color and charm, like porcelain memories laid into the earth. Elsewhere, large concrete stones hold the impressions of real leaves, etched with nature's own handwriting. It's as if the forest knelt down, pressed its palm into the path, and left behind its signature in stillness. These imprints offer a grounding magic, a whisper of the woodland with every step. Then there's a trail where marbles, buttons, shells, and smooth stones shine from old baking tins. It's playful, nostalgic, like childhood frozen in time. Each one is unique, a kaleidoscope of light and color waiting to catch the sun or twinkle beneath your garden lights. This is more than just a walkway. It's a moving gallery, a journey, an invitation to notice the small things, the joyful things, the discarded things that still have beauty left in them. And best of all, you can make it your own. A broken plate, a hand-picked leaf, a tin from the back of a kitchen shelf. Each one can become a part of your garden story, written beneath your feet. "17. Hanging and stacked garden towers, vertical whimsy wonders." In a forgotten corner of the home, things that once served the table now rise toward the sun. With just a simple rod and a collection of mismatched plates, perhaps chipped, perhaps too old-fashioned, what was once clutter becomes a vertical sculpture. A garden totem. It stands like an heirloom blooming from the soil, a quiet tribute to stories once told over tea and laughter. Nearby, a salad spinner is reborn. No longer relegated to kitchen chores, it now sways in the garden breeze, overflowing with herbs and wildflowers. The sun filters through its slotted sides, casting delicate shadows while bees hover, drawn to its bloom. This is recycling as poetry, an object given new rhythm and scent. And for those who love to float between earth and air, the suspended moss towers offer serenity. Made from old lamp frames and wire baskets, these airy columns are filled with succulents and trailing vines, each one a floating capsule of calm and chlorophyll. They hang like soft-spoken sculptures, rooted in nothing but held by everything. These vertical wonders don't just save space, they redefine it. They invite us to look up, to notice what can thrive when we stack imagination high. So gather your odds and ends. With just a bit of balance and whimsy, you may build the next blooming skyline. "18. Garden mobiles and whimsical spinners, dancing scrap spirits." In a garden touched by a whisper of wind, memories come alive, not in silence, but in shimmering motion. Here, even forgotten trinkets find purpose again. What once jingled on a keyring, shimmered at a wrist, or sealed a soda can now dance as freely on garden mobiles made from relics of the everyday. With a humble rolling pin as the anchor, soda tabs, broken earrings, orphaned beads, and the occasional spoonful of nostalgia sway like bells in the breeze. Each one catching light, catching stories, catching glances. One spinner, forged from the metallic blooms of recycled can lids, turns not just with the wind, but with delight. It's a kinetic sculpture, petals of tin, hues of cola, a flower blooming eternally in the air. Its spinning is hypnotic, like a lullaby whispered by summer. And then there's the chandelier of cast-off keys, gemmed buttons, and rhinestone chains, cascading from a simple wire basket. It's more than decor, it's a chorus of past lives, where each trinket once held a story, a drawer, a memory, now lifted skyward. The charm of these whimsical pieces isn't just their beauty, but their origin. They remind us that joy doesn't come from perfection, but from play. From assembling the discarded into something that sings when no one's watching. Try it yourself. Open the junk drawer, empty the forgotten tin, string what you find. Let your garden hum with the laughter of things once lost, now found in motion. "19. Hanging and tabletop terrariums, bottled garden dreams." In a world that rushes outside our windows, some of the most magical landscapes can be found contained within a jar. Small, suspended, and glowing softly in the morning light, terrariums are the poetry of gardens written in glass. One doesn't need acres of land to grow wonder. Start with a mason jar. Just one. Add a pinch of sand, a small pine cone, and a humble succulent. Suddenly, the ordinary becomes tender. A mini-desert scape held gently in your hand, a reminder that life grows even in stillness. For those who dream of stories, turn a discarded cookie jar into a woodland diorama. A trail of pebbles, bits of driftwood, sprigs of moss, and tiny handmade cabins evoke tales of tiny forest dwellers. It's not just a decoration, it's a scene, a world, a narrative waiting to be told. Place it on your shelf, and you place wonder in your daily view. And if your spirit soars a little higher, why not suspend a small garden in the air? Repurpose an old glass bowl and cradle it in macrame. Inside, create layers of texture, fine sand, smooth stones, tufts of moss. Tuck in a figurine, perhaps a fairy or gnome, and you've got yourself a floating fantasy, catching whispers of the breeze and childhood memories. Terrariums invite you to slow down. They are gardens you don't walk through but dream into. And often, the best gardens are those small enough to hold in your hands, but deep enough to hold your imagination. "20. Reflective garden art, garden light echoes." In a garden where sunlight dances between petals and petals whisper secrets to the wind, sometimes it's the light itself that plays the lead role. Welcome to the realm of reflective garden art, where discarded mirrors and forgotten discs come alive with a brilliance you never knew your backyard could hold. Imagine placing an old wooden-framed mirror at the edge of a flower bed. Its quiet presence multiplies the colors and shapes around it, creating the illusion of an infinite bloom. More than a reflection, it feels like a portal, an entryway to a world where the seasons stretch just a little longer and beauty is endless. Now look up. From the trees dangle strands of CDS, spinning gently like metallic leaves in the breeze. These shimmering relics of old technology now scatter tiny rainbows across your garden floor. As the light changes, so does the show. Each flicker a fleeting painting made of color, memory, and motion. Then there's the mosaic, a fence transformed by hundreds of mirror fragments. Each piece may be broken, but together they become whole again, catching the morning sun and scattering it in every direction. This isn't just art. It's a celebration of imperfection, of second chances. It's amazing what we overlook. Old mirrors with scratches, CDS no longer played. But in the garden, they become instruments of light, echoing the sky, magnifying wonder, and reminding us that what was once forgotten still has something beautiful to say. And maybe that's the quiet miracle of it all. (21) DIY Garden Lighting, Twilight Junklight Wonders. As the sun begins to lower its golden gaze and the garden slips gently into twilight, something magical starts to happen. Not with fancy bulbs or costly fixtures, but with forgotten bits of the everyday, brought to life by intention and glow. Underneath a quiet pergola, a colander once used for pasta now blooms with vines and light. Suspended like a secret moon, it cradles a cascade of trailing ivy and warm fairy lights. What once drained water now pours ambience, making the space feel like a tucked-away nook from a countryside dream. Deeper into the garden, orbs of woven wire sway softly from tree limbs. These rustic cages, once perhaps discarded baskets, now cradle lead candles that flicker like gentle fireflies. They don't shout their presence. They whisper, and that whisper is one of welcome, inviting you to slow down, to breathe, and to linger longer beneath the canopy of leaves. And then, the path itself comes alive. Rows of mason jars, humble and clear, line the way like a parade of grounded stars. Inside, tiny fairy lights dance, solar-powered, soft, and endless in their glow. Each jar a miniature lantern of hope, a beacon guiding every barefoot step with grace. This is what happens when you let the night in and meet it with creativity. You don't need a fortune, just a few old jars, baskets, colanders, and a little patience. From junk to jewels, from discarded to dazzling. Let your garden glow, not with luxury, but with love. (22) Upcycled rain chains and water features, whispers of rain and rust. In a quiet corner of the garden, where lavender hums and the air holds the promise of rain, something unexpected begins to sing. It isn't the birds or the breeze this time, but a rain chain made of forgotten metal cups and rusted funnels, linked gently like a poem written in drops. As the rain falls, each vessel guides the water with grace, creating a soft rhythm that feels more like a lullaby than a storm. These aren't just scraps. They're memory keepers, weathered by time, repurposed with love. You can find old funnels in dusty sheds or teacups in a thrift store bin. String them together with sturdy wire or chain, and let them hang like a sculpture that awakens only with rain. There's magic in how something so worn can carry water with elegance, turning even a downpour into a performance. Not far from this rain chain, a humble, rust-spotted bucket comes to life. Inside, moss hugs the edges while marigolds stretch their faces to the sun. A tiny solar pump hums softly, sending up gentle bubbles that dance across the water's surface. The fountain isn't grand, but it doesn't need to be, because it speaks in whispers, not roars. It's a reminder that joy can bloom from the simplest of vessels. And then, in a burst of playful charm, you'll find a rain chain made from ladles, silver spoons, and delicate china teacups. Suspended from a wooden beam, it sparkles when wet, catching light between the drips. Every clink, every glint, tells a story of rainy days, of lost treasures, of beauty that asks for nothing but to be noticed. So if the rain must fall, let it fall through art. Let it glide through rust, kiss porcelain, and sing down silver. Because with just a few forgotten objects and a little intention, you can create more than decoration. You can craft a soul-soothing symphony played by the weather itself. "23 DIY stepping stones and pathways, footprints of Whimsy." Drift gently along this quiet corner of the garden, where every worn baking tray, bottle cap, and shard of porcelain has been reborn as a step in your wandering sure-footedness. Imagine gathering broken china from mosaic plates or thrift crockery and pressing each colorful fragment into wet concrete cast in an old pan. Press in tiny treasures like marbles, keys, or beads, so that when sunlight dances across the path, each stone sparkles like buried gems guiding your way. Consider creating leaf print stepping stones. 2. Press a fresh fern frond or a fallen maple leaf into damp cement. Then lift it away to reveal nature's own filigree. Once cured and sealed, they become fossilized poems beneath your boots, quiet testaments to the leafy world surrounding. Should you wish for richer hues, slip shards of painted china into the mold's rim or scatter bottle caps in playful rings. These fragments tell stories, celebrations of imperfection woven into a pathway that invites pause and a soft smile. For a truly whimsical twist, plant tiny succulents between stones or edge your path with low-growing herbs, so that your feet tread through living poetry. This is landscaping turned alchemy, where when we repurpose the broken, we tread towards something fuller. A garden narrative built upon footprints of whimsy. And you, yes you, can gather what's cast aside, mix cement in an old bucket, and let your yard become a story written with shards, leaves, and the footsteps of your own imagination. So scoop your broken plates, find a spare baking pan, or wander in search of fallen leaves for that delicate imprint. Your garden path awaits, not just a route from A to B, but a gentle journey of memory, craft, and quiet reverie beneath your wandering feet. If this video meant something to you, please know that subscribing means the world to me. You're not just supporting content, you're supporting a dream that keeps my family going. Thank you, truly. I'd also love to hear from you. What did you enjoy the most? Is there anything I could do better to keep inspiring or simply entertaining you? Your feedback helps this channel grow with heart and purpose. Let me know in the comments. I read every one.